What's up, Michael? Turn your audio on here. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Good
Yep.
deal.
Let me create us a little virtual set here, and then we'll rock this
Okay.
thing. I'm gonna mute you for a second, okay?
Okay.
Still working on it. Hold on a second. All right, Michael. I didn't want to keep you waiting too much longer, man. I just got a couple things to clear up on my end, like the color on my camera and that kind of stuff. It's been a while since I've been in the studio, so
With the numbers going back up, we get back used to that.
yeah, yeah. So let me try to fix this up here. That took me too dark. Hold on just one sec, okay?
Okay.
All right, Michael, I didn't want to keep you waiting too much longer, man.
If you are tuning in, folks, you got a question about the high school football playoffs, or a thought or an opinion about them being delayed and what you think should happen over the next week and a half or so, share your thoughts with us here on our Facebook live stream or the YouTube stream, and we'll get to those throughout the broadcast.
Mike, I'm almost there.
Okay, you're good, man.
I gotta get a light is what I need. So just bear with me. I'm gonna run out real quick and grab it.
Okay.
All right,
You got it, Brad?
man. I tell you, I had to run out to the truck and grab an extra light because the one that I had in here it wasn't working. So just had to switch them out real quick. So
Well, you want to get right into it, or you want to wait a few more minutes so people join in? We got a few watchers already. But
you got people that are on right now. And I got people texting me too, so let's see. Just kind of look. Yeah, I've got a. All right. Yeah. So yeah, it's the talk of Twitter right now. You know, and all this social media going on, as far as the football playoffs right now, And I see Jared Peck and Nate Bryan are a couple of the guys that are tweeting out quite a bit about it. And then you got, I mean, if they do what everybody's saying that they think they're going to do, which is basically eliminate the 3s and 4s, and totally, the KHSA has not said anything officially about this at all. So we got to keep that in mind. Nothing's official until it comes from Corporate Drive there in Lexington. What everybody's talking about is, well, we lost the first week of the playoffs, so let's eliminate 3s and 4s. But if you do that, then you got teams like DeSales, and then you got teams like Sayre that would be basically tossed out. And, you just really can't do that.
The way I look at it, too, I'll take Madison Central, one of the teams that we covered, for example. They lost a team during the offseason, or due to a drowning, tragic drowning accident, and lost a teammate. You've got that situation. And then just the whole pandemic, I mean, you lose a couple of games already at the start of the season because of the delayed start because of the coronavirus. And so this past week, they played Madison Southern. Southern gives them a pretty good beating in the last game of the regular season. So for Madison Central, they're at least thinking in the back of their mind, okay, we've at least got one more game.
Right.
And I think for the kids' mentality and for their mental state, that if they just say, okay, your season's now over with, that could have a huge impact on them mentally for the kids that at least thought, even if they didn't have a chance to win, that they at least had one more chance to put the uniform on.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw your idea floated around on Twitter about the possibility of letting these teams play, if they do maybe eliminate the 3 and 4 seeds, at least letting them play one more game, which I think is still a possibility. I believe, if I saw correctly, that even if a team wants to withdraw or is eliminated, they can still schedule games in the postseason. They just won't be counted as postseason games or in the playoffs.
Right, and you saw that in you saw that in some of the other sports like soccer, for example.
Yeah.
Give you an example. LCA played. Who did they play? They played Estill County, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so LCA and Estill County played, and then LCA boys played, I think, Anderson County after they were eliminated from the playoff picture.
Yeah.
That's just two that I know off the top of my head, just because, we do a lot of the LCA games, so of course that was one of the games that was scheduled on our network that they did. So yeah, I think, and there's no perfect way to do it. I mean, you can't really base it on RPI, you know what I mean? Because the RPI right now is not right, Again, that's how you got Sayre at a number 4, or DeSales at a number, what I think they came in at number 4 as well. So you really can't do that. And then on top of that, then you got, travel restrictions. Are teams willing to travel 2 hours to go play a football game? That kind of thing. So yeah, and for you folks that are tuning in, yeah, we got a little late start here. It's all my fault. I ended up going up to Cracker Barrel and getting some lunch, and then next thing you know, the wife and my daughter are sitting there looking at the store, and you know how that is. You can't get you can't get the girls out of the Cracker Barrel store. So,
I've been there plenty of times.
But yeah,
I think when you look at your idea of potentially doing these bowl games, I think it's also an opportunity for the schools to make some money. If they could find a sponsor for just one particular game,
mm-hmm.
Have it be, an insurance can sponsor the bowl, have it be like a bowl game at the end of the year. I know ticket sales and stuff aren't going to be what they normally are because of the limited capacity, but they could still make some money by having a local business or multiple businesses sponsor a big bowl game to finish out the season.
Yeah, for example, on that, I'm over here in Jessamine County, so, if you did 1 through 16, if you seeded 1 through 16 per class, West Jessamine and East Jessamine would be out of the playoff picture, but that would make a heck of a bowl game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've already played once this season, but, for them to have a bowl game to go out on top on, that would mean a lot to not only them but to the community as well, to have that one last game of the 2020 season. So, and then you talked about Berea. Berea, you could find them a opponent in a regional area there that could play them, and and have a nice little bowl game attached to it.
I think it gives you a chance to maybe explore a game that you might normally not consider. If there's for Berea, for instance, if they've never played a Powell County or an Estill County recently, considering the kind of year that Estill County has had, only 4 games on the season. I don't even know what their RPI is because they've not even played one district game. So how do you even put them in the playoff scenario, considering they've not had a single game within their district? So for a team like Estill County, maybe I know Berea is a couple of classes down, but that's at least a game you can get in. It's a regional game, as you said, and it could be very enticing for both of those two schools to at least get one more game in.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, if you do, everybody keeps referring back to the RPI as far as the playoffs go. But if you do it solely based on RPI, it won't work. If you do it and you have, say, coaches vote who they think the 16 teams should be in, and everybody gets a point for every one of that, and then you have another one that you add to it, maybe a media poll, and not just the same media that you let vote every time, because everybody knows that there's certain clusters of media.
Prejudice.
Yeah, of media that pick their team. E-Town, for example. All those E-Town guys pick E-Town, and that's kind of lopsided over there. So why not let WBON vote or PrepSpin vote, and do this big questionnaire sheet, if you will, and say who are your top 16s in each class, 16 teams in each class. You put that together. You do the same thing with your coaches, and then you take and award points for wins. How many games did most teams get in? Most teams got in 4 or 5, right? At least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So out of those 4 or 5 games, how many of those games did you win? And then, you get a point for every game that you win, and I think that's how you decide, how you seed the 1 through 16. Coaches poll, media poll, and points for wins.
I know you've covered a lot of different teams this year. You've covered a lot of Sayre, a lot of Lexington Catholic, a lot of Lexington Christian. So you've seen a lot of different teams, and the same with us. We've seen Madison Central or Southern or Berea play 1A schools, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A schools. We've seen a lot of different mixtures, and I feel like with just how this year has been, that there is a lot of really good teams out there that aren't going to get the opportunity to finish out the season because their county's been in the red for so long.
Yeah. There's going to be those situations, and nothing that you put out there is going to be perfect. But I think if you have a system where you do it in, at least 3 things decided, like I said, the coaches poll, the media poll, and then you give points for wins for games that they did play, then I think you can come up with those 16 teams that way. And then everybody else should get a supplemental bowl because it is 2020.
Yeah.
And regardless of if your team, didn't win a game all season at all or however that works out, give those kids a supplemental bowl that they can schedule a competitive game rather than going into a first round of a football playoff and losing 50-0 and going out like that.
You look at what the NBA did with their bubble, and a lot of people were asking, well, should there be an asterisk on the championship, the champion, whoever comes out of that bubble with the championship, should there be, a mark on there? Well, this is a little bit of a different considering all the circumstances that went into that. Do you think that whoever is the champion in any of the 6 classes could have that potentially be on? And it's going to be a big deal either way, for them to come through this pandemic, have to battle all the things they've had to battle through. But do you think that some of those schools might think that they are the champion, even though they didn't make it into the playoffs or maybe further into the playoffs because of this pandemic?
You're talking about the teams that don't get into the playoffs, if that's how we do it?
Yeah, or even if, a team,
they'll be the champion of their bowl. If they win their bowl
Yeah.
game, they'll be the champion of their bowl, so they can carry that on, and hang a banner or do whatever they want to with that. And that's where you get local community support in. I mean, I'm sure here in Nicholasville for that East-West game, for example, I'm sure R.J. Corman would step up. Their corporation over there and say, well, let's just name it the R.J. Corman Bowl, or a Town Square Bank or something, or a City Bank now. I forget they change their name often, but City Bank Bowl or something like that. That's how you could go out. If that's how it's. I mean, and let's be honest. Some of these teams that we're talking about have absolutely zero chance of going to play at Kroger Field, right? I mean, let's just be honest with that. You have to be an elite team, and we know who those teams are, and those teams will probably be at Kroger Field or on their way to Kroger Field. But the rest of them, play those supplemental bowls. Just have a Sweet 16 is what I'm thinking is how you do it. You Sweet 16 each class.
You were talking about East and West Jessamine, and they're in the same district as Madison Southern. The way it's shaping up right now, Southern would play Collins in the first round of the playoffs. West Jessamine would play Woodford County. So East is not even in the postseason picture right now because of the RPI. But Woodford County only played Collins and Madison Southern. They didn't play either East or West Jessamine. And there's no penalty for that this year. There's no penalty if you did not play one of those two games or a district game. There's no penalty for that. I like that, but then I also don't like the fact that those two teams, East or West Jessamine, don't have a chance to play themselves into the postseason picture because they didn't have a chance to play against Woodford County.
Yeah. I saw West Jessamine. I believe West Jessamine is squeaked in, though, right? Isn't West Jessamine in? I mean,
they would be the
4
3
seed.
seed, actually.
Would it be 3?
That would be the 3. Yeah. So Collins
Okay.
would be the 4 seed, actually. So it would be Southern would play Collins.
East
Collins
would be out.
Yeah, East would be out. And it's weird because so Southern is right now the 1 seed. They would play Collins in the first round. Collins is the only team in that district to beat Southern this year. Southern beat East and West Jessamine, and they also beat Woodford County. But because of Woodford County, again, they beat Collins. They lost to Madison Southern. Those were the only 2 district games they got in. They didn't play East or West Jessamine, but somehow, because of their RPI, the other teams they played outside of district makes them the number 2 seed, even though they've only played 2 district games.
Right. Or you could look at the same thing with Frederick Douglass and Scott County. Scott County, I'll be honest, the last game of the season, they had a reschedule with Scott County Douglass, and Scott County canceled, Red County type thing, the same reason why the first one got canceled. But, if you were Scott County looking at that game, I think, from a standpoint of where you would get seated, how it is now, they would be the number 1 seed, and Douglass would be number 2, right? So from Scott County's perspective, let's wait and play Douglass in the second round, not play them, let's not play Douglass in the regular season, I should say, and let's wait and play them in the playoffs because we're going to get a higher seed than they are. Let them have the tougher opponent first.
So because Scott County backs out of that game, it actually helps them.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. But again, I mean, this has just been such a crazy year, and I understand that Commissioner Tackett and Joe and the folks within the KHSA are trying to find the right way to do it.
Right.
I don't know what the right way to do it is, but we just have some ideas on how those teams who could potentially, they've not come out and said it, as you pointed out earlier, they haven't come out and said exactly, we are going to eliminate the first round, but if they do, we've got some ideas on how those 3 and 4 seeds whose season comes to an abrupt end can finish out their season successfully and potentially put one more game on the schedule for them.
Yeah, and I've been seeing, all over Facebook and Twitter that, the first week of, and this could just be rumor too, but everybody's saying that the first week wasn't even KHSA shutting it down, that it came from the governor's office.
Well, that's another hurdle we've got to get over. And these cases, I mean, they're not going away. This virus isn't going away.
and if that's the case, if that's the case, then what's going to change next week? When we go to try to play, is that going to be thrown out too? Because everybody, if you look at that COVID map, and if that's where they're basing their decision off of, then I'm sure we're going to end up having the same deal, and then field hockey would probably be the last championship we play of 2020.
Yeah, there was 79 counties in the red yesterday.
That's just crazy. That's crazy. I don't know how they base their numbers off of that. I think it's something per 100,000, but
yeah, it's 25% of your population per 100,000 people. So if you're over the 25% mark per 100,000 people, which if you're a smaller county really goes against you because you don't have nearly the population of a Jessamine County or a Madison County or a Fayette County. So it really goes against you there. Yeah. And, I've even been told in some of these smaller counties that the majority of their outbreaks are coming from like nursing homes. So it doesn't have anything to do with the outside community. It's all within one nursing home. And, you can't shut down the nursing home, obviously, but you can't really slow down the spread of it either because it's such a compact environment that once one person gets it, it just spreads like wildfire within the nursing home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nursing homes and it's, anything that's got a large group together. So, I mean, when you're talking about inside sports, I think there's a big question mark there.
Yeah.
But football, we should be able to get in, you would think.
I know they've already limited the capacity. Could you see maybe where they just say, okay, we got to do whatever we can to get these games in, no fans?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's definitely a possibility, to do that. Now, I don't know if you can do that and still play the championship games at Kroger Field, though.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Because, you got to still rent that facility out, right? So,
yeah. Well,
and I quite honestly, I think that you're breaking up a little bit here on us, but I think there you go, you're back. I think quite honestly, when you look at it from a financial standpoint too, I think that the KHSA is kind of banking on having that at Kroger Field, and selling tickets.
Yeah, and at Kroger Field, I mean, where it's a bigger stadium, you might be able to spread them out more. Maybe I don't know if you could sell tickets per row or like just basically just however Kentucky does it when they have games at Kroger Field. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could do it that way, or maybe it's instead of having 3 games in a night, maybe you do Class 1A on a Monday, Class 2A on a Tuesday, and you spread them out. Maybe that's the best option. Or do 2 games. Now, I'm not sure, what the best way to do that is, but whatever they can do to get these games in, I think that's what they're working on right now. I think we've seen what you said, a Thursday decision should be coming possibly as to what we're going to see ahead.
I've been hearing that something will come out Thursday, but that's not anybody from KHSA saying that. That's just people that are just talking, saying that Thursday there could be a decision coming about all that. So
I mean, it's moving parts, and again, I mean, this all could be a moot point. The governor could say no more games.
Right.
He could say we're shutting down the gatherings again, which that could happen any day. And then now we're worried about basketball as well.
Yeah, I think basketball you get in, but I don't think you get it in. I don't think you get it in at the end of November when it's supposed to start at the end of this month. I think we're looking more of January and playing like a shortened season, like a 3-week season, and then going into the playoffs that way. Again, I don't speak for KHSA. I know you don't either, and they'll ultimately make those decisions. But if I was to play Chris Bailey here and forecast the future, so to speak, or play Nostradamus, I guess you could say. That would probably be more fitting. I would say that basketball you're looking at January because I've noticed some of the big tournaments too have taken off their brackets, their holiday brackets. Lexington Catholic girls, for example, I haven't even seen their bracket, and we usually do video boards for them for that. I haven't heard anything on that here in the last couple of weeks, and normally we start to hear it about this time of year. The boys bracket's still up right now. well, I shouldn't say the bracket, but there's teams that are listed that are going to be playing in it on the KHSA schedule right now. But it's only a handful of teams. It's not all the teams that normally play in it.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. Basketball, I don't think there's any way we start in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, whenever the season was supposed to start. I think the 23rd, the 26th, somewhere through there. I don't think there's any way that they can get those games in. And, you know, I agree with you. They're definitely going to play a shortened season. I mean, it's just, it comes with the territory. And it may be a case again where we postpone it like we did with football, and then we have different options to look at. Maybe it is a 3-week schedule. Maybe they try to get more games in during those 3 weeks. But, you know, I think a lot of these schools are going to have to play within their own county, their own region, instead of traveling outside. You know, I know you and I both cover a lot of 11th region games, and there's a lot of really good teams within that 11th region. So I wouldn't mind seeing more games within the region. But, you know, for some of those schools that play a very difficult schedule, like a Lexington Catholic or like a Madison Central, that you know, travel to Louisville and play, or travel to Western Kentucky and play in some of those big tournaments, that's not an option this year. And you know, you look at those two teams might be the two best teams in the region, with Ben Johnson coming back and Madison Central returning everybody from a team last year that was pretty interesting. So
I know for sure Catholic's going to be stacked this year. They're the real deal, man. I don't think Salzman's ever been as excited as he is about this team coming in. I want to throw an important date out there for everybody too, because this is important for everybody to know, is that KHSA on their website, they've got, you know, the KHSA Border Control meeting scheduled for the 18th. So that's 8 days from now. So keep that in mind too, because you've got that, and then they're saying, well, first round of playoffs start on the 20th. You know what I mean? So you got that board meeting leading up to the football playoffs, and I don't know if that's a early indication or not, you know, because that meeting's probably been scheduled the whole time. But
yeah, but even with basketball,
keep that in mind.
You know, if that's to kind of preview basketball, that's only a week before the games start. So you would think that they might come out before then and say, okay, we are having this meeting on the 18th, but we're going to go ahead and say that we're pushing back the start of basketball season.
Yeah. Well, I know practice right now is still kind of limited, you know, doing what they do with basketball practice.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're in the red, you're not even allowed to practice.
Yeah. So that, or it's reduced numbers or something like that as well.
Okay, like the pods, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're doing groups of 10 or something like that. But yeah, man, there's a lot of question marks surrounding everything. I'm trying to just look here on Twitter just to see if any folks are tuning in. So Sayre's tuning in right now. You know, and we put out a tweet earlier. He says there's just no way you can tell an 8-0 Sayre team that their season's over with. You know, you just can't do that. But then again, you know, if you look at last year's basketball and you talk about the Sweet 16, you told an undefeated Ashland Blazer team that their season was over. You know what I mean? So not that they played any big games, but they were still undefeated coming in a Rupp.
Yeah,
right?
But I think that's a little bit different because they at least got to experience
the season,
the regional tournament and the regional championship, and got to, you know, have those emotional ups and downs or whatever.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit different for a team like Sayre, for the year that they've had, and you know that program is definitely on the rise. You would hate to see their season again just come to an abrupt end because of the RPI and everything else that goes in with that.
Yeah, and if they kept it the same way that it is, I believe their first round matchup's Pikeville. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Sayre and Pikeville are going to be playing each other. How's that fair? You know what I mean?
That's a long drive too for either team.
If they go based on RPI, that's Sayre and Pikeville in the first round of that. That's like a championship game right there in 1A.
Yeah, and you know, for some of those teams, again, we go back to the point of for the schools that are those 3 and 4 seeds, you know, who don't have much of it. I mean, you got to give Sayre a chance because of their quarterback and the coach and the roster that they have in Class 1A. Well, you got a quarterback like that, they can go out there and beat anybody.
They got they got the Dennis kid too. Don't forget about him, and
Yeah.
Trey. What is Trey's last name? Anyway, Trey on the team too. He's very, very solid as well. I'll think of his name here in just a second. So KHSA's put out a link to that seating thing. It just says tentative is what it says, which means it's not set in stone. It's just, it's out there for RPI purposes. And somebody put the top 16 for, matter of fact, they just did a lot of Louisville Prep Sports. Put out the top 16 teams in each class based on the RPI. So if they did it based on the RPI solely, then you would have, we'll look at what class do you want to look at? I'll tell you what.
I think a lot of our viewers are going to be from 6A.
You think 6A? Okay, so if we look at 6A, all right. So I think a lot of them is going to be 4A and 5A too. But all right, so Trinity would be number 1 in 6A. They would have North Hardin number 2, Bryan Station number 3. Bryan Station, one of those teams that have had a great season under Coach Hawkins. Man, they've done outstanding. Henderson County 4 seed. You got Mel at 5. Dunbar comes in at a 6 seed.
Dunbar is the 1 seed in their district, and they've had a pretty good comeback year themselves.
Yeah, McCracken County. Yeah, they got Dunbar 4-2 and 4-2, I believe. And then they've got the 3 next to them because they've had 3 cancellations.
Yeah.
Ryle is 8. Manuel's 9. Then you got St. X at 10. Apollo at 11. Dixie Heights at 12. 13's Ballard, George Rogers Clark 14. Oldham County at 15. And then Meade County at 16 is how that comes in at. But when you look at 5A, because we got, Madison Southern and Woodford County in there. And then who else we got in there? So you got Scott County and Covington County.
East and West Jessamine?
Yeah, well, if you go 1 through 16, then West Jessamine doesn't make the cut. So you got...
That's interesting.
Yeah, if you go 1 through 16, West Jessamine doesn't make the cut. That's why I said them and East Jessamine would end up, having an opportunity to play a bowl game against each other, which would be, good for the community. It's unfortunate that West Jessamine doesn't get a chance to play in the real playoffs if that happens. But at the same time, who would they play in the playoffs if they did play in the playoffs? Do you have that that matchup by chance? Do you have those in front of you by chance?
The games for the East and West Jessamine?
The way it is, the tentative schedule that the KHSA put out.
So right now you would have in Class 5A, you would have for that district, Madison Southern would play Collins, Woodford County would play West Jessamine. And Woodford County would be the 2 seed, West Jessamine would be the 3 seed, Madison Southern is the 1 seed, and Collins is the 4. So if they did the top 16 RPI, Collins West Jessamine wouldn't make it. Yeah, they're actually ahead of Madison Southern and West Jessamine, but somehow Collins is the 4th seed in the district standings.
Yeah, so
how does that make sense?
Yeah, that's because they play tougher competition on their games is how that makes sense. As far as the RPI goes, that's how that works. But you got if you look at this, the way that 1 through 16 matches up here. So if you seeded them, then you would have 1 taking on 16. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
But then you have to look at travel. You know, would Owensboro and Grayson County, for example? I don't even know where Grayson County is off the top of my head, but
it's near Ashland.
But we could look at 2 and 15, which would be Scott County and Woodford County would match up, right? Yeah. That would be a close game. Covington Catholic would be 3. They would end up matching up against Madison Southern. I don't think Madison Southern wants that game, but
or they want to travel that far either. That's about an hour and a half to northern Kentucky. It wouldn't be that bad.
It's not that bad. No, it's not even that, I don't think. It's right off the interstate, right there in Covington. So
Yeah, that would be a rematch of 2 of the last 3 years in the postseason for Southern. After I think they lost to Cov Cath last year, and then obviously the state championship game a few years ago when Cov Cath beat them in the state championship game.
So 4 would be Southwestern, and so 4 they would be taking on Collins. Southwestern taking on Collins if that was the case. Bowling Green would end up taking on Greenwood. That's close proximity. I mean, that's right there in town, right? That's a big game for them. Pulaski County would take on Fairdale. That's, Louisville taking on Somerset there, which isn't that bad. I don't think it's not that bad. It's about a 2-hour drive for Pulaski.
Yeah, and Pulaski County is a pretty good team too.
Fairdale would be the one traveling actually.
Traveling.
Yeah, because you would have to give the top 8 seeds home field advantage in the first round, right?
But the thing is, Fairdale is actually the 1 seed in their district. So if you go by the RPI, they're going to be traveling when they would normally have 2 home games during the playoffs.
Yeah, so there's really not an easy way to do it. I mean, you could take RPI and then you can take a couple other things and add to it and then come up with some kind of number that you can sort them all by. I think that's where the coaches poll and the media poll comes in along with the RPI, and then you seed them like that. Or I don't think points.
I don't think there's one fair way to do it for everybody. Somebody is going to have an issue with how they do it, but I think, I don't know how to go about it, but I think the coaches of the really good teams are going to be like, you know what? We're good enough to beat anybody. If we have to go on the road to do it, then so be it. Yeah. Ticket sales are not going to be what they normally are. So if you're having to go on the road again, you're not losing that much money, I think, for a school, for a program. So if you're one of those really good teams, if you think you've got a shot to win a state championship, then I think the coaching mindset would be, instead of complaining about it, let's just put our helmet on and let's go out there and win the football game.
Yeah. Here's another good matchup too that would happen would be Douglas taking on North Bullitt in 5A.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I mean, that actually would be a decent, cool little ball game right there. So yeah, I mean it's kind of spread out, and then if we look at, you care if we look at 4A?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way this year that they might just, take
top 16 teams in all classes and let them face one?
Maybe do something like that, and just to limit the number of games. You take the top 16 RPI teams from the entire state, and then maybe you try to find ways for everybody else to get a bowl game in, or at least one more game. Do you think that's an option?
I think that you've seen in the regular season with the rescheduling this year that 1A teams can compete with 6A teams.
Yeah.
The numbers aren't the same. But I'll give you an example. Pikeville went on the road and beat Henry Clay.
Mm-hmm.
LCA defeated who did they defeat? LCA played up in class or something like that, and they defeated somebody big. Who was it? Oh, they went to Dunbar and played them.
Yeah.
So a 2A beating a 6A team.
Well, didn't Catholic just beat Cov Cath? I think is Catholic a 5? Are they 5A?
Yeah, Cov Cath is 5A and Lexington Catholic's 4A.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a little bit of an uptick there. So, we've seen it before this season.
Yeah, I think anybody that plays Boyle County is going to get hurt the way they're playing.
Yeah.
And to me, if you look at the RPI, they got Boyle County down, based on that RPI. But if you for example, Elizabethtown would be ranked ahead of Boyle County in the RPI. That's just not true.
Yeah. Boyle County has destroyed everybody they've played. They've just not been able to get in some good games because nobody wants to play them.
Yeah. I mean, technically you could do 8 teams per class and put them all into a big bowl, a big bracket, and let them all play each other. And then you could sort that out by geography for the first round. And then as the rounds go on, then you have, you can reshuffle them or whatever you want to do, but if that's the issue is the bus rides, which could be, is the bus rides, maybe that's what they're thinking is, hey, we got teams that are going from one side of the state to the other to play each other, and
Yeah.
maybe that's the whole reason why that first week was kind of thrown off to the side.
Well, I think it was too. We got to figure out who's playing who. Even if they do decide to play the entire postseason, they still got to figure all this stuff out. And the logistics of it, as you pointed out, the geography of it. I think they just need to sit down, make a bracket for each class, and kind of go from there and see if it makes sense. Then if it doesn't, then go to your option 2, see if that works. Because, I do think that they've got to allow these, and they have stated that they already are going to do that if the team doesn't make it to the postseason, or they are still allowed to pick up an extra game to finish out the year. But to just say that these kids, their season comes to an end and they don't have a chance would be so heartbreaking.
Well, if they keep it the way it is right now, too, I'll give you an example. In Lexington Catholic's district, is Bourbon County came out publicly and said, what it was last week, that they were done with the season.
Yeah.
So if you look at the, Lexington Catholic's first round matchup would be Bourbon County, that game would not happen. Lexington Catholic wouldn't move on to the second round, I guess, because Bourbon County would end up forfeiting, right? If they keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
And I believe Anderson County gave up their season as well. And so now you're going to have to – can you play round 2 while you're still playing round 1 in a week? Because why not go ahead and get Lexington Catholic and Boyle County in, right?
Yeah.
Because you already know
just
that
to get the game
matchup.
in.
Yeah, you already know that matchup, so why not go ahead and just play that game?
Yeah, it may be a case to where they say, you know what, if both counties are out of the red, or whatever we got to do to get these games in, they may go ahead and do that. Or, if it comes out Tuesday that both counties are in the red, maybe they try to just push the game up to a Thursday night. Again, just to get the game in.
Well, that's what they were saying is, The first week is the 19th through the 21st, so it's Thursday,
Yep.
Friday, and Saturday. You can do it on either one of those nights.
Yeah, to me, I think it would be good to go ahead. Especially if you've already got the week ahead of time. Ready. Then you can just jump into playing on a Thursday night and give yourself an extra night to get ready for the next game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could definitely have some fun with the scheduling that way. Ain't nothing cooler than a Thursday night football game, in my opinion. Just to kind of stand out and have the TV there to do it, or have WBON or Prep Spin at your game, and bright
considering
lights.
How bad some of these
Thursday night.
NFL, considering how bad some of these Thursday night NFL games have been, we may have better high school games to watch.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So we've looked at 6A, 5A, and 4A. 4A, you'd have Boyle County, Harrison County in the first round game if you did 1 through 16. Johnson Central would take on Logan County. Corbin would take on John Hardin. Louisville Central would end up taking on Lincoln County. That'd be a good game. Let's see. Lexington Catholic in this situation would be taking on Hopkinsville. Which if you did, I believe Hopkinsville, if you did it the other way, a 3 and a, how the KHSA's got it on their tentative schedule. If you dropped out 3s and 4s, then you could have Hopkinsville and Hoptown play each other if you wanted to. So you got Hopkinsville and who? What's the other team there? You got Hopkinsville and who? Is it
Hopkins County Central?
Yeah. So those two would be. I think those are 3 and 4 in their district, right?
Yeah, Hopkins County Central is the 4th seed. Hopkinsville is the 3 seed. So
yeah, so they
perfect.
If they dropped, it would be a perfect bowl game for them.
Well, you said John Hardin would play Corbin, right? And would that be the matchup?
Let's see. John Hardin would play. Yep, would play Corbin.
And both those teams are 1 seeds. So I mean, again, you're taking a home playoff game away from somebody if you do that. So again, it just goes to the point of, I'm glad that I'm not on the KHSA board right now because there's so much to figure out. And it doesn't matter, who you pick or what you choose to do. Somebody's going to get the short end of the stick. And, some of those coaches might be okay with that and say we got to put our helmets on and go play, and some coaches are going to say, well, we want the home playoff game. So somebody's going to be upset either way.
Yeah, Franklin County would get Wayne County when you look at the 7 and 10 seeds, and then 8 and 9 would be Russell County and Holmes. Again, we're just throwing out ideas here, and I mean, no way you look at it, no matter who you are or however you put it together, nothing's going to be perfect for everybody. Yeah. You're going to have some really good games, but nothing's going to be perfect. And again, nothing is official. I'm gonna let everybody know this too, because I'm getting a lot of tweets now and a lot of messages coming in. But nothing is official until it comes from KHSA. Nothing at all. We're just throwing ideas and just talking about the playoff picture, and Michael and I thought it would be cool to just kind of talk about today.
Yeah, and we want games. I mean, that's what we obviously want to see, the kids out there doing what they love. And one thing that I continue to say whenever we get off the air is that we all have to do our part in that. And, I know we're all tired of putting the mask on and, having to socially distance and not getting out in the crowd or doing your normal routine. But nothing's normal right now. And for these kids, if these numbers continue to go up, then it's going to be even less normal than it already is.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. You're right. To me, and I don't think there's been a real big, huge problem with teams not following the rules. I've seen some pictures coming in where, some of the stands weren't, spread out the way that they should be. But I haven't seen anybody, like locally anyway, breaking any of the rules. So I know that these guys, the athletic directors and the coaches and all the extra staff that they've had to put in place, have done an outstanding job with following the rules here in our area. So they definitely need to be get a shout out for that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I continue to say that we said we're glad that we don't have to be a part of that KHSA decision. Well, the same thing with the people that are within the school systems right now and having to decide whether to go virtual or in-person classes, or if you're an athletic director or a coach, it's not just doing your normal duties. You're basically working overtime every day, putting in stuff to make sure that everything's done the right way to keep the kids and the coaches and everybody safe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from your training staff to to your coaches, to your ADs, to all the people, even the parents that have stepped up and offered an extra hand. It's all gone the extra mile for their programs to make it is what it is, and truly the reason why we got to play as much as we got to play so far.
Yeah. Well, William, I know that it's a crazy time, and I know you guys do a great job over there covering the schools that you cover. We appreciate you helping us out a lot this year and helping us do multiple games when it was needed over here in Madison County. We really appreciate you and the guys over at Prep Spin for everything that you all did for us this season.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You guys are always top notch over there at WBON, and we like you, we like Kelly, we like Donald, all the guys there, and you guys do an excellent job and. Continue. You guys are doing it for the right reasons, and I think that's what makes when we do synergize together, makes it a great team. And
let's hope that we continue to get these games in and continue to get to work together. And maybe when this decision does come out, we can hop back on here and get everybody else's thoughts and to what the postseason might look like. Absolutely,
man. I'm game. So you have a football game. You should tell us where it's at, and we'll be there. Just let us know.
That's William Warfield with Prep Spin, folks. I'm Michael Watkins of WBON TV. I'm going to try to get some work done before this day is over with.
But you got a show tonight, don't you?
We had the sports show last night. I got a newscast coming up at 3:00, so I got to get in there and get ready for it. So.
All right, man. All right, well, good luck with that, and man, let's play ball. Let's hope that we get to play ball.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good day.
Too, man.